Oh,
No more talking passwords.
okay.
That was a good meeting back in December. Save the location. Okay, go to drive right
Do.
there. So you go to files. They do.
We gotta say
have
the
election
oath
of
and all that
officers.
good stuff.
Hey Denise,
Where
what's
is that?
our election of officers?
So they haven't.
We haven't met in
this yet.
January.
So we've got George is the president and then Craig is the vice and then your secretary now. So they can move, someone can make a motion to keep as is.
Okay.
And they can vote, or if they want to nominate, then.
We have to go out and canvas the neighborhood.
Yeah,
Everybody has to
yeah.
vote.
Yeah.
Signs
You gotta get
up.
at least 100 signatures.
Get some signs up.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that someone.
You're right.
And then.
Vote for George for HPC president.
Sign in your front yard. My wife would kill me. She says, no
Yes.
political signs in my yard.
I
Okay.
say the same.
Yeah, yeah.
100%. So
None of my car either.
I don't remember this meeting.
Who?
I read the minutes. I'm like, well, my name is here.
I see you
I
out there.
could not,
I would have asked Jeff.
Yeah.
could not verify. Okay.
Oh, so it's there.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Nice to meet you. Jeff, can you hear us okay?
Yeah, loud and clear.
Awesome.
Hi, Jeff.
Hi, Jeff.
Jeff.
Good afternoon, or evening, I guess.
Yep, so let's call to order. And roll call.
Start with you. Just take
Okay, Julian.
Tammy Bowman.
George Harris.
Craig Campbell.
Sandy Butler.
All right. Now, we have a quorum, I guess. So on to the oath of office.
That would be for Bob. Right?
Yeah.
Jeff, do we have to do that for Bob since he's a non-voting member?
No, we do not.
Okay, well, he's
Skip
not
the
here
oath of
anyway.
You
so.
said yours written. so we
I have,
can-
okay.
So we can skip that.
Mhm.
All right, so election of officers. Now, I was only here once before when we had to do this. And I got roped in the role of president.
Roped.
I shouldn't say that. No, thank you for nominating me. This has been fun.
I wasn't
here for Anyway. that
one.
No, I have had a good time doing this. So what should we just,
I make a motion that we keep the slate exactly, as it is,
Sounds good.
which is George is president, me is vice president, Sandy is secretary. Unless
I
anyone else
second.
has any objections.
Tammy
No
second.
objections here.
we got a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
Same signal.
I think we're good.
great.
And then we've got the minutes on there from December, correct? So that was our last meeting.
Has everybody had a chance to read the minutes?
Yes.
Yes.
So do we have a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion to approve the minutes from December.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Hi.
All right, so our overhead is still out. Okay, so the presentation is on your iPad.
Mhm.
We don't have it up on the nice fancy wall. So the first order of old business is the Daughters of the American Revolution plaque. Cecilia, if you want to come up and talk about that.
Sure will. Good evening, I'm Cecilia Calvert from the Kick the Wing chapter of Daughters of the American Revolution.
Could you pronounce that again?
Quick Kick the Wing.
Okay, I'll never remember that.
Well, it's Anderson, Chief Anderson, that is his legal name. So
Okay.
that's where we got the name 113 years ago. Quick story about election of officers. I have a good friend who went to the restroom during a DAR meeting, and when she came back, she was president. So
Mhm.
careful what you do.
No, it's been a good time.
no, I didn't appear before the commission, but I participated in a Zoom meeting several years ago. I think Denise said it was back in 2019. It didn't seem like that. It's been that long, but time flies when you have COVID. At that time, the Daughters of the American Revolution was wanting to place a historic marker at Grove Lawn Cemetery, honoring the Revolutionary patriots who are buried in the South Madison area. Our plans changed over the last 2.5 years, and we're at the point now where what our plans are is to mark each individual patriot with a stone grave marker in their memory. The reason we did that is because of some DAR rules. Not all of the Revolutionary patriots who are buried in Madison County are DAR patriots, meaning no one has entered DAR using them as a patriot. They don't want us to put our name on anything that doesn't have, specific DAR. So what we're doing is marking DAR proven patriots in Madison County. So our plans now are to place 2 memorial markers, one for William Wall and one for Philip Kobach. And this is difficult to see because it's approved, but the marker will be a polished marble, sanded marble marker, very similar to the one that is at Grove Lawn Cemetery for Nathaniel Richmond. And it lives in front of the military section near the maintenance building. If you're familiar with that, with all the crosses, this is right in the center of that. So what we want to do is place a marker on either side of him, and it will say, in memory of these 2 Revolutionary patriots. The reason we are putting them there is because although we know they're born, they are buried in Grove Lawn, we don't know exactly where because their graves were unmarked, and we don't have any records from way back then in the 1830s. So that is what we plan to do. We have done fundraising. We got a wonderful grant from South Madison Community Foundation, and we are moving forward with that. We plan to place the markers this fall and have a dedication ceremony on October the 10th at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And actually, the whole town will be notified via newspaper and flyers, and invitations and et cetera. So this, I think, is very timely with having the log cabin and the Conestoga Wagger restoration. These men were early settlers. They came here in the 1820s and 1850s. So they're the pioneers who helped build this town. They weren't prominent. They took their 40 acres that the government gave them, which I'm sure was 40 acres of trees that they had to clear and make a small farm and make their living. We do have some record that Philip Kobach served on a jury in 1825. So we know that they've been here for a while. So with the 250th anniversary of the birth of our nation coming up, I think this will be a good thing to pull, put together with all that. And I think it'll be good for the town. So this is just an update. We'd already voted, 3 years ago that, yeah, it's okay for us to do something like the cemetery, but I wanted you to know what we're planning to do. So I'm happy to take any questions if you have any.
Do you know how many total DAR folks are buried there?
This will make 3 that we're sure of. We also know that Samuel Pavey is buried out of Crossley Cemetery. And we're working on proving his service with DAR so that we could place a marker for him. We would likely not put it out of Crossley because that's not someplace that the public sees. We would likely put it out here at Grove Lawn as well. There are others that are rumored to be buried there. There's an Elijah Boston. We certainly have a lot of Bostons, in the early history of the Pendleton area. But Elijah Boston himself, we have found that he died in Ohio. He never got all the way to Indiana with his family. So we're checking. All in all, the Madison County Cemetery Commission at one point had a listing of all the patriots buried in Madison County. They had 13. We know 6 of those for sure. There are 3 that we have definitely said no, they didn't live here. So that all came from family histories, and now we have a myriad of things that we can search for on the internet to Dodge Conference. So.
Fascinating, thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
All right, so our first order of new business is a facade grant application for 111 North Main, the Grey Goose Inn. Kate, you are welcome. You have the floor. This is the presentation that they have. If you want, it's just a few brief pictures.
I gave you everything.
Yeah, so you have her full application on the G Drive. It's a lot of pages, so I didn't put it in the presentation.
Right.
But as she goes through, if you have any questions about any of those.
Okay, so I'm Kate Edwards. My husband and I own the Grey Goose Inn, 111 North Main Street. We have gradually been doing work primarily on the interior, but we have, with your guys' approval, replaced all the windows in the home shortly after we bought it. We had to go with Marvin windows, which were historically accurate windows for the age of the house. And they worked out extremely well. We finally got them all installed, even though we bought them a few years ago. Now they're all in. They're not trimmed out yet because we're hoping to be approved for this facade grant. The trimming out includes, some metal, which if they come in and work on the mortar around the bricks, they might do some damage to it. So we're just gonna wait on that to see if we get this grant. So one of the items on the grant, the biggest one is that, I don't have the name of the company, but they have done work on other facade grants downtown here.
Is it DBM?
EDM, I think. Yeah.
So
Right now, they're working down at Catello's. They also did the Owens Building down on the end with the earlier facade grant. So when we have them to the house, he actually did a full review, and he felt the best thing to do for the longevity of this home was for his company to actually take the mortar back, I believe about an inch around every brick. Replace the bricks that needed to be replaced, put appropriate grade mortar in because a lot of different mortars have been used there inappropriately. Once they do that, they will do a light pressure wash. They're going to do a German schmear, if you will. So you can see in the picture that there is a light white smear to the house. We have no intention of changing that charm. We don't want it to be all white. We don't want it to be all brick, but we're trying to kind of bring it back to where it originally was. Once they do that smear, then they want to coat it and seal it so that it's good for another 100, 200 years. I don't know that it's ever been sealed. There's a lot of really soft brick that are just powder now, or missing almost altogether. So we wanted to present that full package to you guys because we believe it deserves to go on. You know. So there are some pictures that we included there as well. In addition to all of that mortar work and sealant and, actually what it's going to do is kind of sadly get rid of some of the scars, which is some of its charm. But in order to do it right, we feel this is the right way to do it. In addition to that, there was a wooden step. There's a picture in there with the step missing on our front porch. We took the pillars out because they're in the country waiting for my husband to do the repair work around the bottom trim because they were rotten. In addition to the rotten base of the pillars was a wood board step that actually you can see the damaged brick on both sides of where that step was. When we approached you guys about the windows, we also approached you about putting in limestone sills underneath each of the windows. There were already two, and we know that around town there are limestone sills that are prevalent. So we're proposing to put a limestone step in that space as well to go along with the limestone sills. And then in addition to, there's 2 more sills that we haven't replaced yet, and those are the half rounds on the north and south side, up in the attic area. That's rotten wood. You can see a picture of one of the half rounds with daylight coming through. So we're willing to do the work to the half rounds, but we want to replace the limestone sills underneath those as well. In addition to that, there's some pictures of exterior doors rotting. And we are proposing, as was required of us for the windows, we're proposing to use Marvin again for the doors, which is historically accurate cuts, just like the windows for those exterior doors. So, oh, and then the last thing that I just remembered, a couple years ago, I had Moss Glass come out and do a quote for me on the transoms and the side lights of the doors for the east, for the front porch and also for the south porch. And so I had them, they updated that for me last week, and I submitted that in, and that was added in as well just last week. But what we're proposing and what I wanted to do a few years ago, just never moved forward on it, was to put beveled glass in those areas so that it would be a little bit thicker, a little more secure. The panes that are in there now, I tried to take some pictures of them, but I'm surprised they're still in place. They're just ready to fall out. They need some attention. They're very thin. They don't hold any energy at all. So I believe those were all my items. I'm happy to answer any questions for you guys.
Well, it looks like there's a ton of different bricks going on here too,
Yeah,
when they replace them. Are they gonna try to match all of that or
well, they're
keep the
going,
ones?
because they're going to do the German schmear,
Mhm.
and that will help with that.
Unify all that, yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
so that'll, even back on the kitchen, the back west side, kind of the northwest side where they did a lot of brickwork on the kitchen a few years ago. I think when the Berlines worked on it, they used a completely different brick than the rest of the house because it's just so hard to find.
Mhm.
But with the process that we're gonna do, it'll just all blend now.
I'm not sure if we have the scoring rubric or if it makes a difference in the criteria, but is this a commercial use building, or is it intended to become that?
Well, when we first purchased it, it was our intention to open up the front 2 living rooms for a fine gift shop. It's already zoned commercial.
Mhm.
So we have another 1.5 years of projects in the country that we're trying to get off of our plate before we concentrate on that.
Okay.
This is the oldest building in Pendleton, right? Or one of the oldest?
It is, well, it depends on who you talk to, but definitely one of the oldest.
Do you know the date on the build?
I've heard several different years. 1823 is the one that comes up the most.
Okay.
And then the new edition was 1835,
Oh, all right.
the west end, the frame structure. The tornado took care of a lot of the west end. We would love to put up the hardy board on that west end. But we actually were able to get that all scraped and painted because the tornado took most of the paint off of it anyway. Yeah, so coincidentally, the fiber cement would be just lovely on there, but we can't get that done in the next year because of our other commitments.
Right. Understood. So Hannah, do you have a recommendation? We're leaving it all up to us, huh?
No, it ticks all the boxes.
Yeah, it does. And
Definitely,
the fact that it's an historic building
yeah.
and really important
Mhm,
to
mhm.
Pendleton. Yeah, I have no problem with this at all.
Yeah,
And you're requesting $29,725? Is that what the,
That's half of what the total is
Mhm.
after you add
Okay.
the updates.
Yeah.
Okay.
well, I make a motion that we accept as presented.
I'll second that motion.
Awesome. All in favor? Aye. Yes,
Thank you very much.
congratulations.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. You want this?
You can leave it up there for
Yeah, I'll
time.
borrow
I know it's hard to see up
Yes.
there, so, so our next item, it's another facade grant application for the Martin Insurance Building.
Yeah, I don't think there's a.
You have the floor.
Hi, I'm Tyler Martin. This is the second time I've been up here, maybe third. So what we are, the immediate need of what we're doing the application for is we would like to tear off the drive-through canopy, which I think we already have the COA to get that done. And then in addition to that, where that kind of inset window is, like a reverse bay window almost.
Right,
And the original structure, that was just one large window. And so I'm proposing to put that back to as original as we can by tear that out, put the window in, fill in whatever brick needs to be filled in to make it flush. And then also the door to the left, it's rotted and rusted, and I just was proposing to put a new commercial door like was there at one point. I think the original picture looks like it was more of a silver chromish, but I was gonna go back with the black just to kind of tie everything together.
right.
Can you scroll down? Yeah, so that's just like a quick rendering of what that window would look like, how the old,
Mhm.
what is that, the insurance agency?
The loan association.
Loan
Yeah.
association.
It's the insurance now.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming that all that brickwork down below the canopy is, when was that put in, you know?
I don't, it's not original, because if you kind of look.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Everything underneath that canopy's been bumped out, so
I've noticed.
this
that
is
too.
kind of the short term. Long term, Hannah and I've been talking a little bit. I'm meeting with an architect again on Wednesday, but long term, I would like to build a building where that empty space is, once that's all opened up.
Mhm.
Build a mixed use building, maybe do some apartments, one or two apartments, and another office space below. And then, which will make you really happy, because I saw how excited you were. Tear off the entire canopy around the building and make a second story over that 1 story section when we tear that canopy off.
Right.
Just to give us more space.
Do you happen to know if any of the, like those medallions about the original doors are left there? Or if they're
No,
just
the
covered
plan
up?
was, when we did the COA on the canopy the first time, was once we tear that off and we've got a big hole opened up, we can shimmy around in there and see what we,
Right.
see what we got in there before we tear it off, on the front side.
Understood,
So,
yeah.
But like I said, the building project is, even if we started designing Wednesday when he comes in, that's a year and a half design, quote, start process. It's a ways out, but that's kind of the direction I would like to go.
And is either the window or the door, are they? This isn't a historical building necessarily, so we don't need to replace it with.
Like historically accurate materials,
Yes.
not that I'm aware of. It's a best attempt to fit what was there. But like you said, like those were silver, he's gonna go black with what's there.
Mhm.
I'm not sure it's the same window material, but
Right,
it's the aesthetic that fits it. And, to his point, if in the next, couple of years, there's a lot more going on, this is just kind of trying to do something in the meantime to make the space more utilized. 'Cause didn't you say it's really drafty? and
Well,
it
at one
doesn't-
point, 2 of those windows have been broken and they
Mhm.
replaced them with just a single pane glass. It's about that. That's my office. That's where I
Yeah.
sit. And it's really cold.
Yeah.
So you fell on that sword.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. And
So-
that doesn't really fit the historic character of the building anyway, the
Mhm.
flat pane,
Right.
two pane window does.
but
So
is this a contributing building?
it's,
Yeah.
yeah, it's part of the downtown. I'm not sure when it was built.
So just as long as you try to keep it as close as you can, 'cause we made Catello's put in a
Mhm.
appropriate door when they did the side door.
Yeah, and if you kind of look at that picture of the original building, I mean, they were metal framed,
Yeah.
Right,
metal framed commercial doors.
right. Get as close as you can.
Yeah,
Black is, the color doesn't matter. but,
yeah.
We've held other people to that standard, so we need to keep everybody.
And we were gonna do, instead of just like one big plate glass window, we were gonna do the line down the middle as it originally had and
Mhm.
try to make it.
And you know, eventually, even when that canopy comes off, there might be an opportunity to put those half rounds back in, because
Yeah.
that would definitely
Yeah.
contribute
Be
to
cool.
it, even though it is that aluminum all glass window.
And, you know, given the time period when that canopy was put on, I've seen this happen a lot. They just cover up whatever architecture's underneath. So that may be intact underneath there.
Yeah, and the reason I thought about, you know, on the 1-story section, making it 2 stories, when we tear that canopy off,
Mhm.
the brick that's on the 1-story section is original brick to that section,
Right.
but it would give us a chance to offset the actual historic building, which is the 2-story section, and then make it look like a totally separate building on
Right.
to the right of that. So I thought that would give us the opportunity to open that up some more.
What happens to the ATM when the
So-
canopy comes off?
As of now, the ATM will stay. They've got, the lease renews July of 23, and I had a meeting with them on Friday. I'm actually trying to get them to not renew their lease. oddly enough. So that it kind of opens the way to, you know, we can build a building there or talk to them about, you know, putting the ATM inside the building, you know, whatever it is. I'll try to figure out something that works for everybody. But-
So it'll just simply be standalone with no canopy at all?
Yeah, I
once
mean, we
you get yours
can,
off?
they requested like, are we gonna do a canopy? Can we do a canopy? And I said, well, we're, you know, I said that was Friday afternoon. And so they gave me some renderings of what the canopy might look like, but I would assume that's a separate approval process that you know, we'd have to go through. But as of now, we just have to bury electric line to get power there because obviously the power unfortunately runs through the canopy. So we'll have to do an asphalt cut and run some power there, which is not a big ordeal, but.
There was a question about the brick facade that's below the canopy now, and I believe that was put on when the canopy was put on.
Yeah, yeah. I think that, because that's the original brick that goes around the 1-story section, so I think, you know, that would, hopefully the other brick would still be there.
You'd hope.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would assume so.
Beautiful building.
Yeah, it's a very cool building.
And it's a brick that has the old brick is something that could probably be matched fairly easily.
And I just don't, and that's, you know, when you kind of start into a larger project, I think there's 4 different bricks on that building. Like the side brick that faces the east
Mhm.
is totally
See, yeah.
different than the top north part, which is totally different from the bottom part. And then I think there's actually different brick on the back of the original structure.
And so you are going to brick in below that window as well?
Yes,
Yeah,
yeah.
okay.
We're either there's a brick ledge there with a little flower planter.
Mhm.
So more than likely, we'll just drop the window all the way to the existing brick, so we don't have to filter in anything that
Right.
matches and it doesn't look bad. And then part of the agreement with the town, the parking lot is that middle island that you can see with the ballards and all that, that'll all be crowned out and go on. Discuss that one when all that happens, so.
Any more questions? So do we have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve the request as written.
I'll second.
All in favor?
All right.
Aye. Congratulations, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah, all right, and last, we have Mike Canna on a placard for the lumber yard. Okay, no
Thanks.
problem, I'll be in touch.
All right, thanks.
My name is Mike Hanna, 5115 West State Road 132 Pendleton. I just this is kind of an info to you. When I sold Kurt's building, the former lumberyard, I asked the new owner, Chris Shuloff, if he would consider some sort of plaque signage in regard to Kurt, Mr. Stoner, and Jim Craig. And he was receptive to doing that. So I got a hold of Mrs. Resky, who I found out that Craig was in charge of the signs or ordering the brass signs and just got some information from her about that. I've talked to Becky Call, Laurel's daughter, Jim Craig's one of his daughters, and they're to ask them just a brief bio, mainly for the newspaper services. We talked about a plaque that was like 12 by 18, and we've seen these around town. It's the brass plaque. I just thought, I don't know that that's a historical building, but if Mrs. Rescue was involved with that, I thought I'd tell you what the plans were for that, if that was okay. Chris was very receptive to doing that. The other side of that is it probably cost the neighborhood $900. I imagine if we shopped around Pendleton by noon tomorrow, we could have that covered. So I'm working with the daughters and wife about kind of what we're going to put on there. I think what we're kind of thinking is the time when Jim Craig first owned that. I'm not sure the first year, but I know he went to 1963, and I'll find that out from Annie Craig or Katie. I've been in touch with them, and then through when Laurel sold that, when Kurt and Laurel had that together, and starting in 63, and then until it got sold. So we're kind of working on that. I can kind of show you a finished project. It's just pretty basic, but just honoring those guys. They were pretty huge in this community.
Absolutely.
So that's all. It's just kind of an info thing.
Just a point of information, and we just, I live in the yellow house right across the street from the fire station. So we're doing some remodeling, and we just ripped windows out of the back of our house, and inside of it, it said Collingswood Brothers. That was the original lumber yard that a company in Michigan bought that, Collingswood, in 1921, I think it was.
It's probably Jim Craig probably bought that.
Yeah, that's so when we ripped the windows off, inside the wood, it says the name of the lumber company. And so I got to do a little research. Company in Michigan bought them, which is when that changed. So I kept that. I might do something with it. It says Pendleton, Indiana. So
That's so cool.
yeah, it's
Awesome, yeah.
yeah. So
We could kick in.
Should we kick in?
Well, I was just talking to Craig about that. I'm treasurer and I have no idea how much money we have. So I got.
Well, I'm
don't
asking you to buy it. I mean,
Well, we were
But
just,
the
no, we were
HBC
thinking
is
about just donating to the cause.
Well, I'm sure we could pass a hat around Pendleton and have that covered by lunch tomorrow.
Okay.
The HBC does have funds.
Well,
Our general.
I think that we should donate maybe $100.
I would say so,
Oh,
yeah, absolutely.
But I don't know if Helen still can point me in the direction where to buy it, but the Historical Society.
Yeah,
you people
we're all-
ordering those signs.
Yeah, we can order those signs
Yeah.
for you very
Okay.
easily.
Well,
So-
I'll get that kind of dialed in here.
Yeah.
There's no big deadline, but I just want to let you know what we were doing.
Well, I appreciate you coming and talking about that
Yeah.
because that building it's an old building, even though it's
Right.
been modified at different times. But it really looks nice right now. And
Oh,
I think,
it's
Yeah.
awesome.
I think
It's
a
very
plaque on
nice.
there to honor those three
Yeah.
gentlemen
Yeah.
would be.
Yeah, it's huge. I remember I had that on the market for 10 years and 50 weeks.
wow.
And half of the people who were interested was a tear down, the other half were do what Chris did. I mean,
Mhm.
something like that. So that, you know, it was all over the place, but it all worked out. You know, it worked out for the Call family and that was just all good for them at that point in Kurt's life.
Stoner was on the fire department
We make a motion.
for a long
Yeah,
time.
yeah, sure.
And
Well,
I know that
yeah.
the first fire run that he had was in 1953. That was on the building that's painted black right there. There's fire upstairs there.
Well, I talked to his daughter who's in Florida, and they'll be back in a week or 2 or 3. But I asked all the families to just get a little brief bio. We can get the paper there, kind of make a big deal about that, and that'd be pretty neat. Yeah.
How much you suggest we donate?
I'm just saying 100, but let's donate a
Well, we'll get
If,
back.
when he comes back with, like a
Yeah.
kind of packet, the estimate, all of the.
Sure.
The
Yeah.
thing, then you can probably see what you've got in your
Okay.
funds.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
then
okay.
But
make it
would
on
I
there.
mean, would I work with you as far as ordering the plaque and the verbiage?
Well, Helen is a member of Historic Department.
Right.
That's actually her department,
You
what
want me
she
to-
does. But I can certainly do it. Tammy can do it. Bob can
Okay.
do it. We all can do
Well, I
it.
see
so.
Craig quite a bit, so we'll.
Oh,
we'll-
Any of us will close
Craig
that.
can't
We'll get
Mike.
that.
Craig cannot do it.
But I'll get your-
Greg's incapable. of doing most.
Well, no, you know you're not. Well, we're members of the Joint Fall Creek, so I can get that taken care of for you whenever
stay
you
on
want
it.
to do that.
When we kind of,
Do you have one on your
it'll
house?
be kind of simple, I'm just kind of thinking, just have their names across the top, maybe under the years of ownership. And just the owners of Pendleton Lumber Company, 103 West High Street,
Yeah.
although that's not the address now.
Yeah.
Pendleton Avenue address,
Yeah.
200 or something like
Yeah.
that. But and he said he was going to put that inside the entranceway kind of up like this.
Oh, on the inside of the
Yeah, the
building.
vestibule.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, all right.
And I mean, wherever he puts it, that's fine.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
Who's doing it?
yeah, it's
He'll
his
put it.
building.
He is getting signage soon, by the way.
Yes.
Oh,
okay.
well,
All
he's
right.
doing a great job so
Yeah.
far. That place looks
Products
awesome.
are hard
Yeah.
to come by. Things take a long time.
Yeah.
Well, he's a very successful realtor. He's out of the Geist area,
Ah,
and he has several personal projects like this around.
Wow.
Been very successful.
very good. Well, thank you.
Kind of all I had.
Well,
Thanks,
just
Mike.
talk to Craig here.
Yeah.
and He can tell us what needs to be done. So.
I'll do that, and
Yeah.
and I'll be in touch with the families and kind of review what they're comfortable with or what they would like to have up there. We'll get that done.
And there's brass signs, which cost what we normally sell, but we've also gone to an aluminum sign, which doesn't cost as much, but the brass signs are really
Yeah,
nice.
they're pretty nice.
Yeah.
And they're scattered around town.
Oh, there are. We've
Very
sold
cool. Yeah.
15 of them. We've sold quite a few of them in the
Yeah.
last couple of years.
Well, I'll do my due diligence and kind of, I can kind of give you a heads up on the proposed finished product, and we'll kind of get that done.
Yeah.
Perfect.
And you said 15 by 12 by
I
7,
think it was like 12 by 18.
12 by 18. Okay.
Yeah. And Helen told me that, that she gave me a surprise, that was maybe around $700
Yes. Yeah.
a couple of years ago, so whatever.
It's going to be, yeah, you get that ordered quickly because the price is going up. Because
Well,
everything's going
yeah.
up.
as soon as Laurel's daughter gets back in town, I didn't know this, but they live in Agnes and Melvin's house
Oh,
on Broadway.
uh-huh. Wow.
When you people, you would remember that.
McKinney Sisters.
Our
Agnes
great
and Melvin
teacher.
crossing.
That's the
Yeah,
McKinney
teacher's here for a
sisters.
long time.
Okay,
Oh, my.
thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you very much.
Any
right.
other comments? or
Anything else,
Any
guys?
other news?
No.
All right.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
There you go. We're done.
All in favor?
All
Okay,
right.
we're out of here.
Do the gavel.
Oh, I do have one thing.
Oh,
Wait, restart the meeting.
No, the Historic Fall Creek is going to have a meeting on April 20th, and our own Hannah is going to be there to speak on our grants. And it's at Paz at 119 Gallery, 119 State Street at 6:30. So if anybody wants to come to that, you're welcome to. It's a